Two epidemics separated by 9 decades converge and touch. I refer to the spreading epidemic of polio in Syria in 2014 and the pandemic of dengue fever which struck Greece in 1928. In both cases, the squalid conditions and health effects meet the definition of a human disaster. The death rate in 1928 was 6%, while 80% of the population suffered from breakback fever or dengue and lived in an environment of endemic malaria and infectious diseases. Greece was believed to be a threat to Europe, where conditions were said to be worse than in Brazil. Today, Greece is burdened with the effects of climate change, the growing presence and mobility of immigrants, and a potentially new threat by recent cases of dengue in Europe, while facing a disaster to health as a result of austerity measures, which is unfolding with uncertain dynamics. Conditions detrimental to health are emergent. Helpful to the resurgence of eradicated diseases such as malaria, rabies, and tuberculosis. In Syria, collapsing health indicators and the migration of polio virus outside its borders are already a given. Population health is jeopardized, thousands of men and women have been killed, and millions of children have been displaced. Neither in Greece nor in Syria is there room for complacency in matters of public health. A consequence of the political compromise with the government of Syria is that the efforts of the international community have not yet had their desired results. The Syrian government does not allow humanitarian aid to cross its borders, for example through Turkey, and does not approve assistance for vaccination of children in those areas not under its military control. There is a lack of mitigation measures for polio, with an absolute lack of hygiene, clean water, and basic foodstuffs, facilitating footholds for the development of previously controlled infectious diseases such as tuberculosis, chickenpox, hepatitis, dysentery, etc. In the general region, there are nuclear arsenals and several foci of political instability, one being in the Ukraine, where at any moment the health of populations can be threatened. In parallel, the elimination of Syria's chemical weapons is taking place in the eastern Mediterranean near to Greece. Dengue in Greece arrived from Syria through Lebanon in 1927, at a time when 1.5 million vulnerable Greek refugees had arrived from Turkey and were being resettled. It took a further year for dengue to explode into a pandemic, that is in 1928. Thanks to the intervention of the League of Nations and the Rockefeller Foundation, it was brought under control. Before subsiding, it had caused a short-lived revolution in public health, allowing Greece to join the League of Developed European Nations. The sudden onset and rapid spread, 80% morbidity, of dengue fever alerted European public health authorities and panicked political structures. The landmark creation of the Athens School of Public Health in 1929 facilitated the eradication of endemic malaria, while support from the Rockefeller Foundation enabled Greek and Syrian public health experts to pursue training in the USA in the 1930s and in the 1940s respectively. What should now be done? The answer must not be restricted to either Greece or Syria, but it should be truly global. The intervention should be catalytic universally for the renewal of public health. Greece should, and immediately, start with a policy for public health, a strengthening of all public health structures, and the removal of all political and legal obstacles to the functioning of its historic School of Public Health. Syria, to solve its problems, and not only in public health, is in need of considerable aid from the European Union. A Syria-wide vaccination campaign for polio must be immediately deployed. Additional aid must be given to the Center for Strategic Health Studies in Damascus and all other public health structures, and a national program in health disaster management should be developed, as we have already recommended. What should be done now must include a partnership between public health and disaster health management through health security and international health diplomacy, and it should have universal application. If public health were to be given the support of the United Nations Security Council, certainly a lofty ideal, it would represent a commendable initiative. It will send out clear messages in all directions to reinforce universal notions set out in the concepts of a peace culture and a society for all ages of UNESCO, within the Health for All strategy of the World Health Organization, and in the principles of human security of the UNDP, that is, freedom from want and freedom from fear. What better way to promote human development than through the concept of health, implicit in the Millennium Development Goals? Placing the health of the public under the Security Council can serve to fulfill the vision of the United Nations. Only in this way can the World Health Organization gain greater influence, achieve more capability, and be able to guarantee cross-border access in the case of a humanitarian disaster, as in the case in Syria today. I conclude that if two different epidemics, dengue and polio, that unfolded at different times in different places, can somehow merge catalytically on the political agenda, then perhaps ever more frequent occurring health nightmares can be intercepted, nipped in the bud, or even made to disappear, and make the world a safer place for our children, for all children.